decided to make a DVD about drugs and alcohol because we wanted to know what was wrong with it.
First we wanted to talk about the questions we asked and who we wanted to ask them to. Here are some of the pictures of the work we did.
We learned one of the drugs that's becoming more popular in our community is cocaine.
In our community, it is normally used as a party drug in nightclubs on a weekly basis.
It is Britain's favourite Class A drug and it has loads of nicknames like Chang,
Sniff,
Coke,
Snoop, Chop,
Charge,
Flake,
Charlie.
Blow.
It was once a drug exclusively for the rich and famous, and now it is so popular and easy to get hold of.
In 2009, it was taken by 1.2 million people in the UK alone.
70 million a year is made through selling cocaine.
It's one of the least fairly traded drugs you could take.
2.2 million hectares of rainforest have been destroyed to farm coca plants.
We want to find out where cocaine comes from.
Despite being a glamorous drug, there are many problems in the country where it came from.
Today, 3/4 of the world's cocaine is produced in Colombia. Colombia is in South America. Its surrounding borders are Brazil, Peru, Ecuador and Venezuela.
Cocaine money has provided the funding of the civil war that's devastated the country.
Over 3 million people have been forced from their homes because of fighting.
Thousands of people have been killed or kidnapped.
In the war, children are used as child soldiers.
Boys and girls as young as 8 are recruited, often by force. These children can face harsh punishment, including death if they try to escape and return to normal life.
The group recruits young people because they're easy to intimidate and threaten. They're easy to train to do what they are told without asking any questions.
Some girls are forced into the groups through marriage or use for sex.
Some are pressured into joining by their families as a route to escape poverty.
Everyone has a family member or friend who's been killed or kidnapped.
Yet still, desperate farmers are forced to grow coca to feed their families.
All families in Colombia have been affected by cocaine. This is how cocaine is made.
The coca leaf is firstly soaked in chlorine, then a cocktail of bleach, kerosene and sulfuric acid is then used to extract the cocaine from the leaf.
This is how cocaine gets to the UK.
Poor people are recruited to act as drug mules.
They swallow several grams of cocaine and attempt to pass through international borders with drugs in their stomach.
If a mule gets arrested or dies, another poor person can be found to take the place.
We all wanted to speak to someone who has been addicted to drugs.
Di Harris came in to see us and we asked him some questions.
How did you start taking drugs and how old were you?
I started getting into drugs at the age of 11 when I was sniffing solvents, Tipex thinners, gas. Went from gas then, started smoking cannabis. The reason I got into drugs is because I was brought up in care from the age of 8 until I was 16. I was a bit of a bad boy and my parents put me into care because they couldn't cope with my behaviour. And I kept on running away, and every time I ran away I used to do silly things like smash windows, and we always used to take some drugs to get off our face.
Why did you first inject drugs?
Started taking speed for about 16 years. First of all, I started putting it into a Rizzler and dropping it, put it into a Rizzler and swallowing it or snorting it. And then somebody told me about injecting. And I said, what's the difference between injecting and snorting it? And the reason why is because when you inject it, it goes straight into your bloodstream. So it's an instant hit straight away. It gets to you straight away. So you start speeding straight away. So I tried my first hit of a needle into my vein, and I liked what I done.
What things can go wrong when you inject?
When people have a miss, is what we call it, is where they inject it. It doesn't go into the vein, and all of a sudden you can cause an abscess on your arm or whatever you put it into your body. Some people have lost an arm, lost a leg, all depends where they do it.
What drugs have you taken?
After taking amphetamine then I was taking cocaine, I just snorted a lot of cocaine, also taking ecstasy, magic mushrooms, acid, microdose, semen tablets, Valium, Tomazis. Only one drug I never did was heroin.
Have any of your friends died from drugs?
In fact, I had a phone call on Sunday that a friend of mine had been found. He'd been missing for a week and they found him in an edge with a tourniquet wrapped around his arm. Do you know what a tourniquet is? It's a strap that you put around your arm to get your vein up. He was only 22. He'd been missing 7 days, and when they found him, his body was black because he'd been out in the sun for so long that his body was, they couldn't recognise him.
Is there anyone else in your family on drugs?
I also have a sister who's an heroin addict, and I'll explain a bit more about what happened to my family, but she lost 2 of her children. They were taken away from her, a set of twin boys, age of 19 months, taken away from her, placed for adoption. Now she doesn't know where they are.
How did you manage to pay for your drugs?
One day I didn't have no money. I needed to go and get some solvents to sniff to get off my face. And somebody said I was going to go out and rob a few car stereos. Somebody said to me, I was an off licence just up the road, 2 women working in, why don't you just go up and rob the money? So I thought, okay, no worries, I'll go and do that. I went up there with a friend, done an armed robbery. I got caught and I ended up about 5 years in prison for it.
Did you take drugs in jail?
Once I was in prison then, I was introduced to more drugs in prison, because there's a lot of drugs in prison than there is outside at the moment. It's so easy to get drugs into prison. But people put them up their backside, people swallowing them and then making themselves sick when they get back to their cell to bring it back up.
What can you lose when you're addicted?
I got a son called Tristan, who was adopted, taken away from me. I've got a son called Shane, who was taken away from me and placed for adoption. And I've also got a son called Liam, who was taken away from me, placed for adoption. So I've got 3 children which are being adopted, but I don't know where they are. The reason why they were taken away from me is because I didn't have their interest. You know, I didn't care where they were, what they were doing. I didn't care if they were dressed tidy, they weren't fed, or because I needed my money for my drugs. So this is what happened. Social services came in, took my children away from me. The only person to blame for that really is myself. People always say, yeah, but didn't somebody get you started on it? No, I got myself started on it. Nobody can force you to do something that you don't want to do, you know, at the end of the day. So the consequences is now that I get 1 letter a year and a photograph of my children, the ones who've been adopted, so that's all I get. Nothing else. Don't know how they are. The last year or so we haven't heard nothing from 2 of them, which is pretty upsetting, because we don't know how, if they, horrible thing to say, we don't know if they're still alive, we don't know if they've moved, we don't know what's happened to them because we don't hear nothing. One of the boys, called Shane, who is 11 now, was born with 5 holes in his heart and a muscle bungle with an arrow into his lungs. We found out the reason why is because of my drug taking. Because when you take amphetamine, it makes your heart beat faster, it makes you rush around and do a lot of things. And you see a lot of people doing it, and they clean it out, or they play on the computer games all night and so on. Well, it affected him when he was born. It caused him to have 5 holes. The reason is because of me doing drugs. You know, so it's something that I've got to wait when I'm older, when he's older, sorry. When he's 18 and decides he wants to come and look for his dad. And I've got to put my hands up and say, yeah, I'm sorry son, the reason why he was taken away is because I chose drugs over you. You know, who in their right mind would choose drugs over their children? But the thing is, once the drugs get hold of you, that's what happens, you know.
We asked Di to show us some drugs and we asked more questions.
Have you ever had a bad trip?
I was in Cardiff. What I mean by a bad trip, I was in Cardiff and I was being chased by a lot of Somali people with knives. And there was one black fella walking behind me on his own, minding his own business. And I nearly killed the guy, nearly stabbed him, could have killed him.
In your opinion, what is the worst drug you've taken?
Can you say that?
Amphetamine. Because you get psychosis on it. It's where you take amphetamine, you're awake, you don't sleep when you're on amphetamine. So you're awake for 3 or 4 days. And then when you do try to go to sleep, you hear noises, you think the police are coming for your door. You think it's people chasing you, you think people are going to kill you because it's called, we call psychosis.
How do you stop?
Once my children were taken away from me, it was decided that I needed to sort myself out. I needed, you know, come off the drugs. So I done what I call a home detox. A lot of people go into a rehab where they get help for it. Have you ever seen the Osbournes? You know, Kelly, Osbourne, and Jack. They were both addicted to drugs. They were both put into a rehab. I decided to do a home one, which lasted for about 4 months, and I came off the drugs completely.
How did your life change?
Since being off the drugs, myself and Michelle, we've had a little girl Her name's Rihanna, and I don't know if any of you have seen her, but she's a little girl who came in with me. She's 4 now in 3 weeks' time. She has no involvement with social services at all. My oldest boy is home now and he's coming off his care order next Monday. And I said, my other boy comes home on weekends. And this is all because I've changed my life and come off the drugs. Before, I've never been abroad. What's abroad? I used to think, oh, I'd love to go abroad, love to go on holiday. For the last 7 years, I've been going to Turkey. This year, I've been to Turkey twice. I went in May and June, and I'm going again now in September. So Turkey 3 times in 1 year. Something must be good in there. I would never have done that when I was on the drugs. I couldn't afford it. And as you can all imagine, it's not been a very good life, was it really? So from the age of 11, taking drugs up until the age of 32 and 40 now. So it took until the age of 32 for me to decide to come off of drugs. But by then, I'd already lost 3 of my kids, you know. So this is why I say to you, you know, don't go down that same route that I went down. It's not just you it affects your family as well. It's like my parents, my mother and father, they lost 3 of their grandchildren. They never spoke to me for 7, 8 years. Since I come off of drugs now, me and my father's got a really good bond together. We season ticket holders for Carl City, we go to every match, you know. Couldn't have done that years ago. I can do it now because I can afford to do it.
After speaking to Di, I don't think I'll be taking drugs.
I'm gonna try not to drink too much.
After taking part in this project and seeing the side effects of drugs, I don't think I'll be ever starting it.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching. Whoop whoop.